New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for Friday morning. It's the 27th of September. It's a beautiful day here in Colorado. You can tell the season's changing. Z, it's getting darker earlier and staying darker longer in the morning.
Yeah, maybe just 3 weeks, well, maybe 4 weeks ago, 3.5, 4 weeks ago, the sun was rising at about 5:15, 5:20. Now it's like 7 o'clock by the time it gets light.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's I think everybody out there knows. Welcome, good morning, everybody. Feel free to chat along, chime along. We're talking about the weather. We're talking about, which leads us to climate change, because Rev Z and I got a little lost in talking about this hurricane landing in this morning in our pre-show, and turns out we all have people that were in one way or another being affected by all of this. It's got to be a pretty big storm.
Yeah, I mean, it's affecting people from Key West all the way up to Nashville, Tennessee, right now the metro Atlanta area, and Asheville, North Carolina, the whole North Carolina region, Charlotte, that whole piece is getting hammered with flash flood rain. I mean, they say they got as much rain in like 12 hours than they get in a whole month. So everything is flooding. I mean, there was a picture of a place in Steinhatchee, I think it's Steinhatchee, Florida. A whole house was floating down the street. The whole house came off the Florence and was floating. I think it caught folk a little bit by surprise, because I don't know why. It was a 1-2 and then they went to a 4, and it's pretty bad. I think they said now some like six deaths confirmed. They said, and like 3 million people without power.
Oh man!
It's pretty bad.
Roofers of America, unite! Get your ass out to the East Coast with some tarps and let's get going. It's interesting. In our pre-conversation, you said something that haven't been from Tallahassee, no memory, and still have family, right? No memory of a Class 4 hurricane ever hit in Tallahassee, and to me, that's another one of these indicators that the horror movies of 20 years ago about the weather changing, we keep talking about it, we keep talking about it. Unfortunately, I don't see or hear of anything that's trying to do anything to mitigate the global warming. And big storms are directly related to warm oceans.
Yes.
That's why September is so big, right? The oceans have been warming up all summer long, and now storms have so much fuel to become monstrous.
I mean, you think the effects of this storm are going to be probably stretch 1,500 to 2,000 miles, starting from the tip of Florida down in the Keys all the way up into Ohio. I mean, I saw rain effects all the way up to Cincinnati, Ohio, all the way to the east, up into DC area, and going west all the way over to St. Louis by this one storm.
Wow. Well, I'm only going to Kansas City next week, so I should be by then. Hopefully, it'll be dried out a little bit. But
yes, it should be dried out a little bit.
It'll dry out a little bit, exactly. But and you said the magic word, DC. I don't want to get into everything, but oh my gosh, and the world of politics is pretty crazy, and we've got a vice presidential debate coming up on Tuesday. I believe.
Yeah. Tuesday
night. What, do you know what station, what channel is hosting, or?
Yeah, CNN. CNN is going to do it.
Okay. Well, that's good. That means we've given the Republicans plenty to scream about as far as who's hosting. But I don't know. You mentioned it, and my thought was, oh, do I really have to watch that?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have, if you thought Harris and Trump characters were, two very different ones. JD Vance and Tim are going to be, I mean, their personalities are total. I think the divide between them in terms of their style and everything is bigger than Trump and Harris. I mean, they're like two opposite ends of a pole. So it's promises to be interesting.
Part of me just doesn't want to watch America's grandpa beat up on America's. I'm not going to label it, but
yeah.
And it's interesting because I've seen information now that he admitted he made up the whole story about the cats and the dogs in Springfield, and I didn't read the whole article, and it appears there is some crazy loophole in the state of Ohio that allows a citizen to sue for defamation. And so there's like a citizens group in Springfield that has now civilly sued Trump and JD for defamation of their city. And it's just like, I keep flashing back to the old saying, if you don't lie, you don't have to remember your lies in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years. If you just speak the truth, you don't have to worry about that years down the road. And these two guys seems like that they're now JD Vance is now bragging about the fact that he lied because the mainstream media wouldn't pay attention to him. But now that he lied about this cats and dogs story, the mainstream media has to pay attention, and it all kind of comes back to vilifying the media. But
wow. I mean, how desperate and how whacked out do you have to be in a presidential election to say, I'm going to lie because I'm not getting enough cameras on me. And in addition to that, I'm going to defame people, defame a city, just kill their character because I need the cameras to follow me. I mean, where are we going? Or where have we gone to? It might be a better word. We're already there.
I have a sense somebody asked me the other day how I felt about the election, somebody that I don't normally talk to about these things. And I was like, in many ways, I am resolute that Harrison Walz will be the next president and vice president of the United States. I pay just enough attention to recognize that I saw a piece last night. Here it is. So I watched a movie last night that was supposedly a combat reporter who embedded himself in the January 6th insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually, I mean, this was pretty intimate footage of people. This wasn't like, get out of here, you media hack. When the people being caught on camera, like in the moment of all of it, looked upon the camera person as a friend, as a friendly.
Mm.
Whether he had press on him or whatever, we don't know, because there's no commentary. It's really interesting. There's no commentary to it. There is, it appears to have its bias, but it felt pretty fair and balanced, actually, from my perspective of the events leading up to, the rhetoric leading up to, and the events of January 6th, and even the events into the hours after, and briefly into the aftermath. And throughout the whole thing, there was a woman who said, in the aftermath part, she said, "I hope this leads to a third party. I hope this leads to a patriot party." Now, her definition of patriot I'm 99% sure would differ dramatically from yours and mine.
Yeah.
But it feels like there has been a third party for the last 4 years. There has been a third party quietly building itself and putting clowns out front.
Mm-hmm.
And building itself behind a couple of. So JD they had to find a clown that could play up to the head clown.
Right. And you think about it, this movement goes all the way back to the birther stuff, and they had that what was that other party they had back?
Well, and part of it, it sort of like grew out of the Tea Party.
Yes.
And I wasn't a big fan of the Tea Party when it happened, and there was a lot more civility in the Tea Party. There was a lot more talk of policy in the Tea Party. There was more willingness, it seemed, to work together. But since somewhere late in the Tea Party, when things started to get a little more militant, and that was the thing I was surprised by in this film that I watched last night. If anybody's interested, I found it on YouTube, I think, actually. And it's called Fight the Line, what was the line Trump used? Fight like hell. It's called Fight Like Hell. And this new third party really tried to, because let's call it that, the birth of a third party. They really tried to play it off as if they were just peacefully protesting and they were just tourists taking back their house. When the video footage shows some really, really unhinged people and some really, really violent and aggressive people. And it does not cast those folks in a good light if you want to talk about a peaceful discord of ideas.
Well, that's the challenge. Even the debates that they had and debates that's coming up, it's not really debates, right? I mean,
Right.
I listened to a story on NPR yesterday, and I forget what state it was and city, but a civics teacher, might even been here in Denver. A civics teacher was talking on the politics, right, in the election, which there's, that's what civics is for, right?
Right.
And he was asking the students, what they think, and they were saying, it wasn't a debate, it was a performance, and no one answered the questions, and no one, uh, participated in trying to develop a policy. And then he said he showed that debate, and then he showed a debate. I think it may have been with with Reagan and somebody, or maybe it was Johnson and somebody, uh, where they had a real debate. They talked about the issues, and there did not seem to be any hostility between the candidates. And
Yeah.
they tried to present what they were going to do for the populace. And the kids were saying, yeah, that was boring, but I got a ton of information about what they stood for and what they were going to do and what their plans were. He said the other one was just like entertainment, and bad entertainment at that.
And bad entertainment at that. Exactly. Yeah. So Tim Walz is going to eat a corn dog, which every politician knows you shouldn't do, and JD Vance is going to eat a guinea pig, just so we have some entertainment.
I would be. Well, I want to see. Let me put it that way. I want to see how many times the reference to eating cats come up in the debate. I hope they just hit it once and let it go. Because if the whole debate is about eating cats and dogs, I mean, it's going to be a waste of time. Complete. I've heard enough about the cats and dogs.
Oh, man. I don't know how it isn't out there yet, but maybe it is. There's got to be a meme about it raining cats and dogs.
Yeah.
All the way into Springfield.
Well, and Springfield might get a little bit of this weather coming up there too.
Yeah, exactly.
Cats and dogs will be floating down the street.
Oh man! All right. Well, our apologies, folks. We're getting off the rails here a little bit this morning. A little more caffeine. What do you think? That might do it.
Well, and just moments ago, Mayor Eric Adams in New York stepped into a grand jury on bribery and I forget what the other bribery and falsifying statements or something like. I forget the exact charge, but they said he took some illegal trips or some trips sponsored by foreign nations and twisted a little bit on policies or rules in terms to get certain things done. So that'll be one to watch.
As the mayor of New York, you can't pump the unions for a little extra money. You got to go outside the country. You got to go to a
no. Well, no. What happened? These were like Turkey was one. Turkey was the main one I've heard.
Right.
That they were providing these things so that they could get favored. Supposedly they built a new consulate and they wanted to rush it through, and they cut some corners and got some approvals, and Eric Adams
and that's what I mean.
It benefited.
And so he took bribes to let all this happen. Like,
well, that's the allegation.
That's the allegation. And if you're the mayor of New York, you could say no to that. Nope, sorry guys, can't take that money. I could just go to the union or somewhere else and pump some other place to get a little. If I'm broke,
well, here's the thing, though,
and I need cash.
That's the thing. That's the thing, though. It wasn't cash. It was trips. He took trips on Turkish Airlines from India all the way to Africa, I think maybe it was, riding first class, trips costing, $20,000.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually exchange of cash. It was
Yeah.
exchange of favors or cash equivalent. Let's put it that way.
All right.
So we'll see how that rolls out. Then you got the lieutenant governor in North Carolina who said he was a black Nazi, and all of the going ons with that thing.
And here's the twist on that one. So, folks, if you haven't heard this story, this is just hilarious, because Mark Robinson is the lieutenant governor in North Carolina, running for the governor's seat. Became a real quick darling of the MAGA movement, of this new third party, right? And became a darling of because he licks Trump's boots and spouts the party line and yada yada yada. He's been running around using the same online moniker, the same online handle, and spouting all kinds of weird shit. And people have known about some of this. They've known about some fringe views of his and other things. The one I was appalled by was a black man saying, yeah, maybe we need to bring back slavery because I'd like to own one or two. But the perversion in it isn't the fact that he made most of these comments in discussion boards on porn sites. Why do porn sites need discussion boards? I'm not really sure. But he makes these comments on porn sites, and that's what gets the media to pay attention to the fact that he's been saying this shit. It's like, it's less about him saying, I'm a black Nazi. It's more about, ooh, he did it on a porn site.
No comment.
Exactly. You're not supposed to comment when you're on the porn sites. Don't comment on the porn. That shit will guarantee to come back and haunt you. And CNN did some great reporting in putting all this together and lining. And in some places, he used the same online handle as he did in more legitimate sites, let's say. And those more legitimate sites had his name and his address and his phone number and his real information. So it's pretty hard to say that ain't me.
Yeah, but, and that happens, right? Because people's memory of what they've used in terms of handles and stuff, they can only remember 3 or 4, so they start repeating them because they don't want to forget them, and right. It becomes and as one of my prophets, Bill Withers, said in one of his songs, we all have our own confusion. So let's not get it twisted, but don't try to be squeaky clean when you got dirty laundry out there and it's just waiting for someone to uncover and bring it forth for whatever reason, for jealous, malice, benefit, money.
That's the arrogance.
And that's right. And when we look back at, I would suggest, find whoever you think was a great leader in any era.
Yeah.
They all have some idiosyncrasies that may or may not sit well with you. But find someone that doesn't. And I think now we make, we don't want somebody that's a lunatic. Now let's be clear about the damn thing, or somebody that's so out of pocket that they're like, ooh. But we all have it. We all do it. And so how do we begin to look at a person in redemption, in recovery, right? We make tons of money in this country on recovery from someone who previously was on drugs or alcohol or food or whatever they were addicted to, and we looked down on them. But we spend tons of money for recovery, and then when they recover, we say, oh yeah, well, you're just an alcoholic. What? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Right.
I don't get it. And so, I think I was listening to a audio book the other day by Margaret Wheatley, and she made this point about leadership that we rush to judgment. This is the essence of it at this one point. There's very little contemplation on things, contemplation on ideas or issues. It's a rush to judgment to be the first one out with something, to get the most media coverage, even if what you're suggesting is totally off base.
That's JD Vance's point. That's why we get away with, and that's why we end up spending as a country wasting time debating what people are eating for dinner in Springfield, Ohio. Right? It's been wasted.
Exactly. You find a vegetarian or someone that's a Hindu, they'll get upset. They're like, you're eating cows. Why are you doing that? Right? You're eating, why are you eating chicken? Right. So again, here it is. There's a spectrum. There's a diversity of existence on this planet. But I think, a deciding factor should be, is what I'm doing promoting life overall? Because we know, one of my favorite, sayings is, birds eat worms, and there is nothing you're going to do to stop birds from eating worms, period.
Right.
Unless you put them in a place where there ain't no worms. That's the only reason. And yet, no one is got a protest against birds or walking around with save the worms. I mean, there is a process in life that happens. And when we think we are smarter than, and we can buck that, or we can divert that, or we can alter that in a sustainable, meaningful, non-damaging way, you run into some serious problems.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I'm in a weird mood this morning because I want to start a Save the Worms campaign. It would go over really, really well with the birds aren't real people.
Right.
Right. Are you familiar with the birds aren't real?
No.
It's basically, from my understanding, it's a scam. It's a faux conspiracy. So it's a very well crafted conspiracy theory that birds are not real. That birds are actually just tiny little robots being controlled by the government to spy on people, but it's crafted in such a way that that everybody kind of like, yeah, wink, wink. Let's see who actually believes this shit.
No. You gotta be joking.
No. Go online, check. Just do a search. Birds aren't real. And there's T-shirts. You'll see people with hats that have a anti-symbol over a pigeon or something, or little subtle ways that it's like, you're a freak.
This is capitalism at its finest, right?
Perhaps, yeah.
Somebody's trying to sell T-shirts and cups. It's got to be. I mean,
I think it started more as a conspiracy theory that, according to Wikipedia, a satirical conspiracy theory that posits that birds are actually drones operated by the government journalist Robert Rachel describes birds aren't real as a joke that thousands of people are in on. So
gracious. Only thing I can say off of that is, what is the world coming to?
We can start. I bet you, dude, we could start Save the Worms, partner with the Birds Aren't Real folks, and probably make a bundle between now and Christmas. What? How hard is it to get a drawing of a worm holding up a sign?
Wow. You know, and I don't even, I have no words. Let me
I've
no words.
accomplished something.
No words.
I've
No
left
words.
Z absolutely speechless. Right on.
Absolutely speechless because this is the most ridiculous thing ever. And herein lies, in my mind, the importance of people getting involved. And I hate to use the phrase "speak truth to power" because that really is not it. But speak truth, right? Um, I I mean, there are much, and I don't know how much money or whatever they're doing with this, and actually, I guess it really doesn't matter. But what matters is it should highlight balanced thinking people to look at where we are in society and um, how are we going to get involved to put it on a better footing, right? I'm not going to say right footing or wrong footing, but a better footing. Because if we have campaigns going around saying that birds, everything from chickens that we eat to eagles that fly high, that they're all robots and drones. I mean, there are no words for that in my mind. No words. And I don't know. So and so let's move on to another topic that I found very interesting last week. In the interest rate drop and how they are now positing the housing market change. Um, and it's from what I've read and heard that it's still going to be a mess because those people with money who's been on the sidelines, the housing market is still short. I heard a great, great story on NPR the other day about the housing crisis, and they talked about how up in 2008 when we had that crash, they were making millions of houses a year,
Right.
And and now they're making hundreds of thousands, and there's a shortage of housing and the finances. So this gentleman was saying that this housing thing is going to be absolutely bonkers for a while because previously the housing was being built theoretically according to the percentage of population growth,
Right.
and then they stopped that, but they didn't stop the growth.
And I just saw something recently also that more builders are starting to build on spec again, which basically means, folks, they build the house without a buyer. They build the house and it sits there until they can sell it, which can lead to some aggressive sales tactics by companies if they have too many spec houses on their books, on their in their ledger.
I tell you, I mean, I'm on it, and that affected the rent market. I know someone in a major city, three young men who were renting a 3-bedroom apartment, nice apartment, 2-story. I mean, really nice. They were going up on the rent, and they wanted almost $6,000.
Oh yeah, rent's too damn high. Here's an interesting question: if you didn't own your home and you were making what you're making today, and I'm just gonna play this from the fact that your kids are out of college, because they are, right? Both of them are done now, I believe, right?
Yep.
If you were doing the job you're doing the work you're doing, would you be able to afford to buy your house at market rate today?
No.
therein lies the problem, right? That's part of the problem. For anyone here's my perception. For anyone that's in a house, it's incredibly difficult to upgrade right now if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably be even stranger because now your wife, your empty nesters, kids are gone. You don't need as big of a house as you've always had.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily downsize a little bit and move into something a little newer and a little nicer and amenities but nothing allows for that.
Mm-mm.
Housing prices and I want to blame this truthfully on the venture capitalists, because they have slowly but surely bought up all the housing in America, and they don't give a shit about people.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife and I, we're renters. We don't own. We did it one time, and with ministry and moving, it just happened that we got out of trying to purchase because we got priced out. And the companies that come in, if you go look at a rental sheet, go look at Zillow at rentals, there are these national companies that control a vast amount of the market, and they charge you they charge you stupid shit, like $50 a month so that you'll change your air filter twice a year. So they add on all these fees and all this stuff that is making it impossible, I believe, for younger generations to get into realistic housing. Ask your friends. I bet there's some sort of clause in their lease that they're being charged to make sure that somebody drops off an air filter at the right time of year and changes their air filter for them. Like, well, it's an apartment, so probably not. But in housing and rentals and stuff like that, it's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We there has to be a point where we wake up to two people in a luxury 40,000 square foot house. I don't get it. Right. Okay, yeah, you can do it. It's your money. And, there are a lot of people with these huge houses. Somebody might say that to me now that my kids are going, but I can't get out of this one. And this one is not worth tens of millions of dollars.
Right. That's the other thing. People can't flip the way we used. My parents, they were able to sell their existing house because the new place had a comparable enough price. Yeah, it was a step up, but it wasn't like, you got to be kidding me type of money, which now it is.
I think there's something like the average price of a house now is, I think national is like $350, maybe
something like that,
$400,000.
And I'm pretty sure in Colorado it's more like 500. Like the median home price is somewhere around 500-600. Because
which means if you can come up with the money down and at where the rates just drop, even then, you're going to be paying with tax, insurance, $4,000.
Yep. But that's what my landlord, and that's the other tricky part. I've seen this argument too, that there are people that would actually, if you gave them a chance, even with no money down, if you gave them a chance, their monthly payment would be less than what they're paying in rent for a comparable price to space. So, right. So you can we're happy to keep you paying rent, but we won't approve you to pay $500 less than that a month to buy the place.
Well, and that's why I think that economic plan, if you will, that Vice President Kamala Harris is putting forth to provide $25,000 to first home buyers for a down payment would make a big difference.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people have been saving for homes to buy homes, but they can't because they need another $25,000, right? And they can't go borrow from uncle or mom or brother or whatever.
Yep.
And if let's say they had 25, but they needed 50, right? If you're trying to raise that, you're like, I'm out. It's going to take me a lifetime to raise another $25 idly on the side. But if I could, matching money kind of thing, all right.
Yep.
Now I got an opportunity to buy a house.
Yep. I think the road of prosperity leads through putting more Americans in homes than in rental units.
Well, that was the American dream, wasn't it? A chicken in every pot, a car in every driveway, implying that everybody had a place to live, a house. What happened to that dream? I said the dream deferred, I guess, right now.
Well, folks, I look at the clock and we're running out of time. We don't like to end this show on bummers. No. Unfortunately, we found ourselves talking about the U.S. housing economy. And right through it all. And here's the key for me. The key is we have to be willing to look at these things. We have to be willing to look at these issues and recognize that a solution is necessary, that what is happening isn't working. And what that does for me is it sparks that place that says, okay, what's necessary for something to work? What's the next step? What's the vision that's coming forward that says, hey, if we can get enough people doing this, we can change that course. We can move something. I'm still really thinking about savethewords.com, to be honest with you. But because it could change the way we look at things. And if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
No doubt.
Z, we're going to be together soon. Well, not yet. I mean, we live 15 minutes from each other. We see each other often enough. But we're getting a chance to go to Vegas and share in a conference. Both Rev Z and I are going to be speaking at this event. We encourage anybody that's anywhere near the Vegas area to come join us. It's New Thought in the Desert 2024. I mean, look at this. Jamie Lula and Gary Lynn Floyd Lula, David Alt's going to be there. Sunshine Day, you and myself, Reverend Karen Lindsay, and a couple of people I don't know that I get to meet some new folks. And it's all going to happen in support of the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living coming up in October. If you'd like to join us, let us know. We'd be happy to have you join us. And coming up now, Z and I will be here next week on Friday morning. But the Friday after that, this show is going to be live from the ANTN Fall Retreat. There are still, you can get in-person tickets until Monday and of this coming week, and then those close. But you can also get virtual tickets, and you can subscribe to the live stream. If you look at some of the people that are going to be at this conference, it's going to be a hootenanny of high level conversations around the New Thought movement, and I love that. So we'd love to have you join us for that. If you're interested, again, just get in touch here with the New Thought Media Network. Z, any last thoughts before we get out of here for the day?
Stay awake. Don't eat no worms.
Okay, so I got 6 words. Birds aren't real. Save the worms. Till next time, folks. We love you. Peace and blessings.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.